Good afternoon. Today's class, I would like to revise once again visualizing the nation. Visualizing, visualizing the nation. So, we all of you knows, even the present days also, when we used to called or when we are talking about the countries or the state or the regions, so we are personify with the female figure. That means, so we are comparing the regions, states, or the countries with a female figure. For example, dear students, we used to call Bharata Mate. Bharata Mate, Bharata, it is the name of the nation. See, ನಾವು ಭಾರತವನ್ನ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಹೋಲಿಕೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸೊ ಮಾತೆಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತೆ ಅಂದಾಗ ಸೊ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಪರ್ಸಾನಿಫೈಡ್ ವಿತ್ ಅ ಫೀಮೇಲ್ ಫಿಗರ್ ಅಥವಾ ಕನ್ನಡಾಂಬೆ. So the same dear students, even in the 18th and 19th centuries also, the artists and the scholars and the national leaders, so they were personified with the female figure. So here, the female figure became an allegory of the nation. Allegory means when an abstract idea, for instance, greed, envy, freedom, liberty. So these abstract ideas is expressed through a person or a thing. An allegorical story has two meanings, one literal and then another one symbolic. See, while it is easy enough to represent a ruler through a portrait or a statue. So, how does one go about? How does one go about giving a face to a nation? ಹಾಗಿದ್ರೆ ಯಾರ ಒಂದು ಫೇಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೇಷನ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾರನ್ನ ನಾವು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? Artists in the 18th and 19th centuries found a way out by personifying a nation. In other words, they represented a country as if it were a person. Nations were then portrayed as female figures. See here, the female form that was chosen to personify the nation did not stand for any particular woman in real life. ಸೊ ಆ ಒಂದು ವರ್ಣ ಏನಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅಥವಾ ವರ್ಣನೆ ಏನಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಆ ಒಂದು ಚಿತ್ರ ಏನಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಸೊ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ವುಮೆನ್ ಇನ್ ರಿಯಲ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ದ ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನರಿ ಒನ್. ಆರ್ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಯರ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್? ಸೊ the female figure became an allegory of the nation. So just you can try to remember during the French Revolution, artists used a female allegory to portray ideas, especially such as liberty, freedom, and justice, and as well as the republic. These ideals were represented through specific objects or symbols. Specific objects or a symbol. So, as you would remember, the attributes of liberty or the red cap that represent or the broken chain, while justice is generally a blindfolded woman carrying a pair of weighing scales. ಸೊ ಇವತ್ತಿಗೂ ಸಹ ನಾವು ನ್ಯಾಯಾಲಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳ. ಸೊ ಕಣ್ಣಿಗೆ ಕಪ್ಪು ಬಟ್ಟೆಯನ್ನ ಕಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಚ್ಯೂ ದಟ್ ಶೋಸ್ ದ ಬ್ಲೈಂಡ್ ಫೋಲ್ಡ್ ವುಮನ್ ಫಿಗರ್ about justice. Similar female allegories were invented by the artists even in the 19th centuries also to represent the nation. In France, she was Christian Marianne. ಫ್ರಾನ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಸೊ ಮೇರಿಯಾನ್, a popular Christian name that was. So which underlined the idea of a people's nation, Marianne. And also her characteristics were drawn from those of liberty and the republic. The red calf, the tricolor, the cockhead. Statues of Marianne were erected in public squares to remind the public of the national symbol of unity and to persuade them to identify with it. Marian images were marked on coins and stamps also. Are you getting these students? So similarly, even in German nation also they were used the allegory as Germania. Germania became the allegory of the German nation. In visual representations, Germania wears a crown of oak leaves as the German oak stands for liberalism and also heroism. German oak stands for heroism. So now let us discuss, dear students, some of the attributes and its significance. Some of the attributes and its significance. So for example, broken chain. What is the significance of the broken chains? That means being free. Being free. And breastplate with eagle. Breastplate with eagle. So the significance of this breastplate with eagle, that is about symbol of the German Empire, and also it is the symbol of the German strength. The symbol of the German Empire and strength shows through attribute, that is about the breastplate with eagle. Now already we knows that the crown of oak leaves stand for heroism. And sword. The significance of the sword is readiness to fight. Readiness to fight. And olive branch around the sword. Even so, olive branch around the sword, that stood for willingness to make peace also. Willingness to make peace also. And also, dear students, black, red and gold tricolor. See, this black, red and gold tricolor, these tributes or these symbols stood for flag of the liberal nationalists in 1848, which was banned by the dukes of the German states. Then rays of the rising sun. Rays of the rising sun stood for beginning of a new era. So like that only, so to show or to tell or to explain something, so they were used the different allegories, different symbols and attributes and all these things. Now let us discuss about nationalism and imperialism. Nationalism and imperialism. By the last quarter of the 19th century, nationalism no longer retained its idealistical liberal democratic sentiment of the first half of the century. There we can see a bit of changes, but became a narrow creed with a limited ends. See, during this period, nationalist groups became increasingly intolerant of each other and ever ready to go for war also. To go to war also. The major European powers in turn manipulated the nationalist aspirations of the subject peoples in Europe to further their own imperialist aims. See, the most serious source of nationalist tension in Europe after 1871 was the area called the Balkans. The area called Balkans. So, dear students, the Balkan it was a region of geographical and ethnic variation comprising many regions many regions, for example the Balkan areas, which was actually comprising the modern day Romania, Bulgaria, Albania, Greece, Macedonia, Croatia, Bosnia Herzegovina, Slovenia, Serbia and Montenegro. See, there were these are all the regions comprised and called as the Balkan regions, which were actually under the control of the Ottoman Empire. So, dear students, here whose inhabitants were broadly known as Slav. They were known as Slav. A large part of the Balkans was under the control of the Ottoman Empire, which was actually the Muslim Empire. The spread of the ideas of romantic nationalism in the Balkans, together with the disintegration of the nationalism in the Balkans. Now, what happened? The Ottoman Empire made this region very explosive because of the spread of the ideas of romantic nationalism. So, these ideas of romantic nationalism made Ottoman Empire regions very explosive. All through the 19th century, the Ottoman Empire had sought to strengthen itself through modernization and internal reforms, but with very little success. Even the Ottoman Empire, it was tried to bring lot of changes in its administration. I mean, during administration. They were trying to modernize and even the internal reforms, but with very little success. So, one by one, its European subject nationalities broke away from its control and declared independence. One by one, the different regions which were under the control of the Ottoman Empire, so they were broken away and then they were declared independence one by one. The Balkan people based their claims for independence or political rights on the nationality and used history to prove that they had once been independent but had subsequently been subjugated by foreign powers. Hence, the rebellious nationalities in the Balkans thought of their struggle as attempts to win back their long lost independence. Already we learnt about the Greece War of Independence also. Actually, the Treaty of Constantinople of 1832, so it was recognized Greece as an independent nation. So here we can observe that the spread of the ideas of especially the romantic thoughts, which were mobilized the feelings of the people and how they were become success because even the Greece also during the time It was under the control of Ottoman Empire. See, dear students, as the different Slavic nationalities struggled to define their identity and independence, the Balkan area became an area of intense conflict because there were so many regions, different regions. The Balkan states were fiercely jealous of each other and each hoped to gain more territory at the expense of the others. They were each and everybody jealousy and even they were tried to gain more territory also. So the complete the Balkan area became an area of intense conflict. Matters were further complicated because the Balkans also became the scene of big power rivalry. During this time, there was intense rivalry among the European powers over trade and colonies, as well as naval and military might also. See, these rivalries were very evident in the way the Balkan problem unfolded. Each power, Russia, Germany, England, Austro-Hungary, so these are the different European powers were keen on countering the world of other powers over the Balkans and extending its own control over the area. So this led to a series of wars in the regions and finally the First World War. So we often knows that the result of the First World War, why it was actually taken place. Nationalism aligned with imperialism led Europe to disaster in 1914 through the First World War. But meanwhile, many countries in the world which had been colonized by European powers in the 19th century began to oppose the imperial domination. The anti-imperial movements that developed everywhere were nationalist in the sense that they all struggled to form independent nation states and were inspired by a sense of collective national unity, forged in confrontation with imperialism. European ideas of nationalism were nowhere replicated, for people everywhere developed their own specific variety of nationalism. But the idea that societies should be organized into nation state came to be accepted as natural and universal. I hope, dear students, so you all of you understood this concept. See here from in this lesson, from the beginning to the last, nationalism and imperialism, which was including especially the Balkan issues. So each and every topic is very much important. So you have to concentrate and you have to read very carefully, dear students, from the beginning. What we are actually in the introductory parts, we are learnt about the utopian vision of the Frederic Sorio, one of the French artists, who was actually depicted the especially democratic and social republic. The concept was depicted in his paintings. And even dear students, you must know about the differentiate between modern state and nation state. Already I twice explained about this, and after that, the different measures and practices which were introduced in the French revolutions to create a sense of collective identity that you have to concentrate. And also, dear students, you have to concentrate on the Napoleonic Code, the significance of the Civil Code of 1804, or which is even used to called as a Napoleonic Code of 1804. And also, you have to concentrate on the making of nationalism in Europe, how it was actually politically fragmented, and which were the different European states were in a different dynasty's control. And also, you must know that the aristocracy and the new middle class, to whom we were referred as the new middle class, and The same time, you must know about the liberal nationalism, its meaning, and how it's a stand for in a different. For example, in the political sphere, in the economic sphere. So, how they were understood this liberal nationalism. And the next, it is which was very much important about a new conservatism after 1815 and the Treaty of Vienna Congress. The Treaty of Vienna Congress of 1815. So regarding you have to concentrate. And also, dear students, under the revolutionaries, you must concentrate about the Joseph Mazzini, the role of the Joseph Mazzini, and also the Joseph Garibaldi also. Then afterwards, dear students, so you must know about the formation of the Frankfurt Parliament and the romantic imagination and national feelings, and also the Treaty of Constantinople of 1832, which was recognized Greece as an independent nation. You must know all these things, dear students. Especially the Greek War of Independence and the Treaty of Constantinople of 1832, which was recognized the Greece as an independent nation. Then afterwards, the romantic imagination and also the role of the vernacular language are getting their students. And afterwards, the 1830s were years of great economic hardship in European countries. The reasons why it's all happening, and also, dear students, so you have to concentrate on the revolution of the liberals and the role of Ottoman Bismarck and even the Prussia, and the completely you have to very clearly knows about the unification of Italy and the unification of Germany. This is very clear. The unification of Italy and the Germany, and the role of Bismarck and the role of Count Tomur, who was the chief minister, understood. And also you have to know about the Joseph Garibaldi. Then you have to concentrate on how the Great Britain it was formed. That means so the formation of the Great Britain or United Kingdom of Great Britain, how they were, I mean the English people, so they were dominated and then they were actually come out as the powerful, and where they were successfully influenced everything, and how they were step by step systematically suppressed the Scottish culture and then their political domination, and as well as even the Irish also in Ireland, and how they were arose as the United Kingdom of Great Britain. This. Then afterwards, visualizing the nation, the different oligarchs such as Marianne from France and then even Germania from Germany, and how the different symbols were stood for the different and the significance of those things, and finally the Balkan issue and how the Balkan issues led the First World War in 1914 also. So these were all important points and concepts which we needs to be concentrated and we must needs to be learnt very carefully. So whatever I explained, I revised it, even though if you are not understanding any concept or anything, so let me call and then please carry your try to clarify your doubts. Thank you. Have a nice day.